Hi, we're here at Fat Moose. I'm Sean Hendricks. I'm the owner, operator, mastermind behind Fat Moose Comics for the past 6.5 years. We are the longest running comic shop in Jersey.
And coolest.
Well, and coolest. That probably goes without saying. But I'm glad you said it. I need the affirmation. The store was opened April 1st, 1982 by a young Elon Strasser, fresh out of college. He borrowed $1,000 from his dad, and he opened the store. And it's still going. It bounced around over the years. It changed hands a few times. I became a customer in 2002, an employee in 2010, and the owner in 2020.
How has this hobby kind of changed for you going from a customer to an owner? I could imagine that your relationship with this medium kind of changes.
Yeah, it's fundamentally changed how I approach all of it. It's funny because when I took over the store, I announced, the store was about to close. It was on its third owner, and he had done it for a few years, and he just got kind of burned out. And he was going to close the store, and I said, no. You don't just close Fat Moose Comics. We've been around too long. So I took it over. And everybody I know was like, "Oh man, you're gonna hate comics. We know how much you love comics and the comic shop, but if you make it your living, you're gonna hate it." And I said, look, I've been a musician for over 40 years and I still listen to music. I said, I don't think, if anything, oddly enough, doing this now for 6.5 years made me love comics even more. I'll be here for 10 hours a day and still go home and sit on the couch with a glass of whiskey and a stack of comics. And that's still my happy place in the world, is to get lost in a good narrative with great art and great characters. And mostly I read, aside from the entertainment value and the escapism, it's so I know what I'm selling. It always shocks me how many comic shop owners are like, I haven't read a comic in 20 years. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, it's hard to recommend things.
Yeah, nobody's in this for the money. It's in it for the love.
So there's a lot of new readers now entering the scene, especially because of superhero movies blowing up. I'm wondering, like, what kind of tips do you have for people who are looking to kind of enter this hobby, enter this medium?
Be careful. Be careful. You don't need 5 covers of the same thing. You don't need, multiple copies of this or that, or the hot book of the week. People come in and go, what do you recommend? And say all of it. I said, especially if it's somebody I don't know. I had a guy come in a couple weeks ago with his kid. He goes, what do you recommend for my 9-year-old son? I said, what do you recommend for your 9-year-old son? I don't know you. I don't know him. Like, is he into superheroes or sci-fi or horror? I tell people, look around. If something grabs your interest, we don't bag our current books so people can flip through them and see. You don't want to buy something sight unseen. Hey, Kurt. Sorry, customers. It's a Wednesday. So I say, look around, grab something if it looks interesting to you. And if you bring it up to me and ask me my opinion, I will give you my honest opinion of that book. And the other thing I have to dissuade people from all the time is issue 1. They'll come with their kid. We want issue 1 of Spider-Man. I'm like, from 1963? Like, no, you don't. You don't want that, And I tell people, when I started reading comics, in the 70s, because I'm old, I didn't start with X-Men #1. You just grab whatever the most current one is. And if you like it, great. Now you have the next issue to look forward to. And now you can go hunting for back issues, go to cons, go to other shops. And that's half the fun, is trying to fill out the ones you're missing. You have to adjust your approach. I'm not going to talk to a 7-year-old kid who's in a shop for the first time like I'm going to talk to Kurt over there, who I've known for 20 years. Hi, Kurt. So, yeah, you have to constantly kind of morph your personality into who you're dealing with.
So you kind of touched on back issues, and that's like a big part of reading comics. So I'm kind of wondering, like, now that we're kind of pushing into a digital age, how does that digital landscape kind of affect your business and business in general?
Well, it's funny because years ago when digital comics became a thing, everybody's saying, oh, it's the death of the comic book industry, death of comic shops, digital comics are going to take over. They didn't. Because as much, and I'm not going to shit, pardon my language. Can we curse? We'll fix that in post. Digital comics, I'll give them this. They're handy if you're traveling. Then you got an iPad or a Kindle or whatever. Yeah, digital comics is the way to go. You don't want to be dragging a short box with you to the beach, and it's going to damage your books. You got to carry this stuff around. But there's something about a physical comic book. There's a fetishization almost about it. It's a physical thing. I own this. It's like if you buy a movie digitally on streaming or whatever, they could take it away from you in a heartbeat. This, you own this. This is yours. You can read it. You can reread it. Loan it to somebody, and then the ritual of bagging and boarding and alphabetizing. It's like this. There's something about a physical book that digital will never replace.
It's a whole process. I mean, that's part of the fun
And you
right there.
can throw it at the camera.
So I have a few final questions. One kind of a curveball is, do you know? Get ready.
I'm ready. No,
Stretch it out.
I'm gonna hydrate. All right, I'm ready.
Do you know the origin of the name Fat Moose?
Of course, I know the origin. Why would I buy a store? Not no. Oh, honestly, so yes, when Elon Strasser, the original owner, opened the store, I don't know if he was married at the time or just dating the woman that became his wife. He's like, oh, I got to name the store. What do you name a store? And his girlfriend / wife, whatever she was at the time, said, listen, your entire hockey team calls you Fat Moose. He was on a local team, and he was the goalie. And they were playing a game somewhere, and somebody on the opposing team said, oh, I can't get the puck past that Fat Moose in the goal. And so his whole team started calling him Fat Moose. So she goes, look, everybody calls you Fat Moose. Just be Fat Moose. And says, like, all right. So we went with it. When he sold it in 2014 to a guy named Scott, Scott wanted to change the name. Now, I was already working here, and me and Scott had a little sit down. He's like, Elon says you're great, best employee you ever had. That's right. Sorry, I just need a moment to celebrate my awesomeness. He said, he recommended I keep you on because you're familiar with the store and the customers. He goes, so I had to sit down with Scott and we discussed my continuing employment. And then he talked about changing the name. I said, don't you dare. It's been Fat Moose Comics since 1982. We have a legacy. People know us. I said, and if you change the name, I quit. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's loyalty, So he kept the name. And so, obviously I wasn't going to change the name when I took over. It's iconic. People know the store. We had this logo designed in 2014 by one of my customers. And we have stickers. And anytime any of my customers travel, I would take a sticker, put it somewhere, and then Instagram me, a picture, tag me in it. And we have photos, the Fat Moose stickers, not only in all the 50 states, multiple places in the States, Japan, South Korea, Norway, Iceland. I have, if you look at our Facebook page, it's just pictures of Fat Moose stickers around the world. But yeah, so that's the origin of the name. It was Elon was a heavyset goalie, and they called him Fat Moose, and Fat Moose we shall remain.
So we have a few rapid fire final questions.
Ready.
All right. Favorite character?
Favorite character? Honestly, it's funny because the books do not hold up to the promise of the character, but Ghost Rider. I was born in 1972, and Ghost Rider debuted in 1972, and he's just always been there. Johnny Blaze, not Danny Ketch or Robbie Reyes. They're fine. They're all fine. Johnny Blaze. And I had older cousins who always had the early Ghost Rider books, and whenever I went over there, I would just, can I read that again? Can I have this? Like, no, you can't have it. And my dad rode a motorcycle. He was in a motorcycle club, and flaming skeleton on a motorcycle. Like, what's not to love? Yeah. So Ghost Rider, and look, I have the full run of the original books. I've got his first appearance. I've got multiple copies of everything he's ever been in. Are the stories the greatest stories in the world? No, but I was a kid. At the time, I go back and read them for pure nostalgia, and I'm like, wow, that's terrible. But it was fun at the time. But Ghost Rider is always going to be my guy.
I don't know. This might tie in with that favorite series.
Oh, geez. I got to go X-Men just because, there's been 1,000 titles and thousands of issues, but X-Men always feels like a warm, comfy place. Growing up, I had a neighbor across the street who would loan me his Byrne and Claremont X-Men stuff in the 80s. And that really, to this day, like, it's like a nice, comfortable pair of shoes. You put it on. And even if it's not the greatest, like, X-Men obviously have had their ups and downs. I can always find solace in a good X-Men book.
Favorite artist?
That's ridiculous. That's not even fair. You can't do that to a guy. All right, so there was a point in the late 70s when I started to recognize different artists. When you're a little kid, it doesn't matter. You're not thinking about, who inked that, But once I got a little older, I started recognizing different styles and stuff. I'm always going to have a soft spot for Romita Sr., John Buscema. Kirby, oddly enough, when I was a kid, I did not like Jack Kirby's art. It was too much. It was like it was frightening to me. It took me years to say what Steve Ditko's stuff was so weird that as a kid, I'm like, people don't bend that way. And then I later appreciated them. When I was coming up and started really paying attention, I mean, I love Art Adams, Walt Simonson, Eric Larson. No, this is going to go on too long. Tom Rainey, he was actually a friend of mine. Frank Miller, John Byrne. I mean, we don't have all day for this because I could go on all goddamn day with this.
What's an underrated series that you think deserves more recognition?
Oof, man, that's another loaded question. All right, currently, Exquisite Corpses has been a lot of fun. That wrapped up, but now they're doing a series of miniseries tied into that. That's been fun. Is Ted okay? Is another real under the radar book that I think it's literally me and 3 other customers are reading it, but we like to commiserate about it and talk about it. I'm not going to sit here and recommend Absolute Batman or anything because everybody knows what that is. Yeah, I don't need that audience is baked in. I like to recommend the more esoteric stuff. Destination Kill has been great. Yeah, again, I don't want to take up your entire day, but there are so many. Even guys my age, I'm 54, they'll come and be like, "Oh, comics are crap now. There's nothing good." I'm like, you kidding me? You're not looking around. You know, it's hard. I'm too in love with all of this. That's the problem. I like even a bad comic. I can find value in it, even if it's so bad. We're like, that was awful. Let's read it again. It was so crap. Like watching a bad B movie. You know, it's like I can find joy in any of it. Really.
Last question. This is a hard one.
Oh, those are the easy ones.
Yeah, those are the easy ones. Marvel or DC?
No. Don't. No, you can't. You can't. That's not even. Look, I will say this. Growing up in the 70s, 80s, it was Marvel. Mostly because Marvel resonated more with me. DC always felt like it took them a minute to catch up to current times. You look at a Marvel book in 1978 and a DC book, the DC book looks like it came out in 1968. Like, it took them a minute to get caught up. And, yeah, as a kid, you're limited to what you can get off the newsstand, and you're limited to whatever money your parents will give you. And the Marvel books took place in the real world. They're in New York. They're in Jersey. They're, you know, Metropolis, Fawcett City. They didn't exist. You know, I'd go into the city with my parents and just constantly look up, waiting to see maybe Spider-Man will go by or the Fantastic Car, you know. As I got older, I diversified. What really did it was Dark Knight Returns in '86. And everybody was going on, "Oh my God, this is amazing. You got to read it." I'm like, I'm just a Marvel guy. And I was at a convention and they had issues 1 and 2. It was like second and third prints or something. So I was like, let me pick up this Dark Knight Returns nonsense. And by the end of issue 1, I'm like, holy crap. And that kicked the doors open. And then, you know, you started getting all the other publishers, Image and Dark Horse and Fantagraphics and Kitchen Sink. And that's when I really opened up. And I started working in a comic shop right out of high school. And so now I was able to access anything I can get my hands on. I get the previews catalog. I want this and this and this and this and this, you know. And so this day, I can't say Marvel or DC. Back in the day, as a child, it was Marvel all the way. Now it's everything. I don't care who publishes it. That's a very divisive question.
Yeah, it is. Well, Sean, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this has been HTTV here at Fat Moose.
Where we will throw comics at the camera if we feel like it.
We will.